Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the wonderful world of ours. My name is Josh Hasten, and this is another edition of Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Monday, the 30th of March, 2020, the 5th of Nisan 5780. And again, having to double-check my phone in order to find out what day of the week it is and what date it is. That is just the reality here under pretty much total quarantine in Israel. More or less, it's not officially quarantine. We can still do a few things outside of our home, like walk the dog up to 100 meters or about 100 yards from our house, get into the car and drive to a local supermarket to stock up on essential items, and go to the pharmacy. Just a few of the basic things which we are still able to do here as Israel contemplates even further restrictions in our lives as a result, of course, of the coronavirus, which has taken a tremendous toll on the world. I mean, this is a world pandemic, perhaps unparalleled in the history of the world, I guess maybe, and I hope it doesn't get that bad, of course, since the flood at the time of Noah, way back in the Bible. Please God, we should not get anywhere near that. I'm talking about the apocalypse, of course, and I hate to be negative, and I don't want to be negative, and I don't think that's the way we're heading. We have to stay optimistic as Israel and other countries around the world implement many measures in order to try to stop the spread of this horrible virus. Just to give you the latest statistics as of this morning here from the Ministry of Health, I'm talking about 8 a.m. Israel time here on Monday. As of now, in Israel, 4,347 individuals are infected with corona. 4,037 of them are in light condition, 81 in moderate condition, 80 right now in serious condition, with 63 on ventilators. Unfortunately, the death toll has risen to 15. 15 Israelis have died as a result of this horrible coronavirus. That is the statistics. Those are the statistics actually right now. But just wanted to, we may or may not have a guest on the show today. I mean, this is kind of the way we're rolling here. Spontaneous, and everyone's lives have changed in a way that, you know, if something comes up, and even though you're supposed to be on a radio show, perhaps you had to go and buy eggs because there's a shortage of eggs. So who knows what's going on, or if I will have a guest on the show. Maybe I'll have somebody, maybe I won't. As I stare out my window here in Gush Etzion, it happens to be a beautiful spring day. We had a little bit of rain over the weekend, but now perhaps it is officially spring as we head towards the holiday of Passover. But just to give you a rundown of my day, just to describe what it's like, and I'm sure many of you are going through similar situations. I mean, usually I'm up in the morning at about 6 a.m., but that's definitely not the case now. Now it's more like 8 a.m., getting out of bed and getting myself together and praying alone. I mean, I've been praying now in a minyan, in a quorum of Jewish males over the age of 13, as per custom. I've been doing that probably for the last 23 to 25 years. So it's a little bit different now. I mean, you don't have to get up as early, I guess. I mean, you don't have to get up and get ready to drive to work and drive to the minyan, the synagogue, where you have the quorum of men waiting for you to pray. I mean, today is a Monday. Normally on a Monday you read from the Sefer Torah. So that's not happening. So I prayed at home, got up and started to go to work. I mean, just walking down the stairs in my house, and going to work. I mean, that's really all it is. For me, again, it's difficult to hear the news. As somebody who does radio and as somebody who freelances in journalism, I'm actually working now on an article with Corona as a topic, as a feature of the article, of course, because there is other news, and we'll get to it as well here on the show about what's going on in the world, specifically here in Israel and the Middle East. There's other news to attend to, but Corona is definitely the top story. But I will admit it is difficult to talk about Corona all day long, to hear news about Corona every hour on the hour, and I don't think it's healthy. And over the last week, there have been certain days, no disrespect to the Jerusalem Post, which I get delivered every single day, and I have over the last 18 years. There are certain days where I haven't even opened the paper, trying to avoid the news, which is not easy to do as a news junkie. But I don't think it's healthy to constantly talk about the numbers and the figures, and I did share those with you earlier. But I don't think it's the healthy thing to do, to be glued to the television or to the newspaper or to social media. It's very hard. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do. I mean, you get these notifications on your phone all the time with the latest statistics, with everything going on, with, horrible news about somebody who is a young, healthy person who's contracted the virus. And these are horrible, horrible things. But to maintain sanity, I would recommend, and I know the experts are recommending, trying to avoid the news, which could lead to anxiety or depression or who knows what else. So I'm doing my best, and it's not an easy thing to do as somebody who's always following the news. But again, with whether it's not knowing what day of the week it is, not knowing the date, and also, I don't know about you, but it seems like the days, even though I'm waking up a little bit later, it seems like the days are going by much slower, and it probably has to do with less activity, less having to go places, less, everything really. I mean, I'm trying to stay busy. I'm trying to exercise several times a week, but the days seem to go by slower. I mean, it's like almost this sense of jet lag without having jet lag. I mean, I was in the U.S. several times over the last month and a half or so, and I made it back, of course, before the quarantine and ended up actually being in quarantine. I'm pretty sure I talked about it as somebody on my, I'm talking about official quarantine. I mean, one room and a bathroom, and that's it. As someone on my flight there in early March was infected by the coronavirus, but thank God, doing well and healthy myself. So while it's not real jet lag, it just feels off. It just feels very strange, and I don't know about you. You can share your thoughts with me on how you're doing and how you're coping with quarantine and how your days are going. You might as well give the email now, josh@thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Journalism, and on Twitter as well at Josh Hasten, and don't forget Instagram, which I'm still on, but definitely not as active as a true Instagram fan or follower should be. It's just a very strange sense. And then, of course, everything, the cities being essentially empty of human traffic, no traffic on the highways or the roads here in Israel. And we should know in the next day or two if, in fact, the Prime Minister, along with the Ministry of Health, are going to carry out even more restrictions. And what those are, I don't know. I've heard about perhaps not being able to go more than 2 kilometers away from your house, even in a car, unless it's for a specific reason, whether it's you're helping out an elderly person or you're an essential worker in terms of the medical field, or you work, I guess, at a grocery store or pharmacy or whatnot. But That remains to be seen. Those next level steps have not been introduced yet at this point, but it could happen at any time. So we're getting ready to bear down on that as we head towards the Passover holiday. Now, one thing I did learn is that a lot of people who did contract the virus in the Jewish community here in Israel or in other places, it happened over the Purim holiday because, as you know, or if you don't know, one of the customs in Purim is to give your neighbors gifts, food gifts, treats and chocolate and baked goods and whatnot, and have parties. And this we're talking about just 3 weeks ago. So a lot of people I know in Israel, unfortunately, contracted the corona or were forced into quarantine as a result of the actual holiday. Another big percentage group are those who pray at a synagogue in close quarters. I think it was 24% of those who are currently infected in Israel were infected just by going to synagogue to pray. So, there's a lot of controversy going on right now in terms of whether these quorums, these minyanim, should be happening, even if you follow the guidelines to the letter of the law per the Ministry of Health, and you have these gatherings outdoors and you maintain your distance. I personally say don't even take the chance. There's certain things you can't avoid doing. Going to the supermarket, you cannot avoid going to the supermarket. There's no other way. And people say, there's delivery services. Well, you can get in line because from what I understand, if you order a delivery now, it'll come in 2 weeks just because of the mass orders which are currently in place, and I understand that. So supermarket, pharmacy, in any emergency, but anything else, folks, just stay home. Just stay home. As hard as it is not to go out, just stay home. Those are the orders we were given. That is the way to flatten the curve at this point. You can argue maybe we didn't do the right things at the very beginning, and that's up for debate, reading articles in various publications about how other countries have reacted and responded to the virus. But at this point, we're on this trajectory, we're on this path where everybody should stay home. I want to get to the news now here from the Jerusalem Post. I gave you the statistics earlier in the show, but Mayan Hoffman reports on the front page of today's paper, today's J Post, 3 more Israelis died on Sunday, Baruch Dayan from corona, bringing the total number to 15. As I mentioned earlier, number of infected passed the 4,000 mark. On Sunday, Prime Minister Netanyahu and officials from the Health, Finance, and Defense ministries shifted their focus slightly to considering restrictions on some specific pockets of society, such as the ultra-Orthodox, many who continue to ignore certain guidelines. Now, I don't want to just pick on the ultra-Orthodox, but unfortunately, in terms of the statistics and the numbers of where those who are infected are in the country, the highest numbers apparently are in sectors of the ultra-Orthodox communities in Bnei Brak and in other areas. According to a report over the weekend on Channel 12, the Jerusalem Post reports that almost every Haredi, that's ultra-Orthodox, who is tested for the virus is found positive. There are families with 100% infection. One doctor said that what is happening in Bnei Brak is like Italy, which is horrible to think about. The health ministry needs to go door to door and take the sick from their homes. If not, in another few weeks, we will see them coming in by masses. That is an unfortunate report here by a doctor over the weekend in terms of the ultra-Orthodox community. And again, I'm not only singling them out. I mean, the statistics speak for themselves, but the J Post editorial today talks about a cyclist in Tel Aviv in a park who was being chased by police cars because he was breaking the rules and going out and cycling when he was supposed to be at home or within 100 meters of the home. Whatever the restriction is, ladies and gentlemen, follow the rules. Whether you're ultra-Orthodox, conservative, whether you're an atheist, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. Follow the rules. That's really the bottom line. But unfortunately here, it looks like the ultra-Orthodox communities are being hit hard. The government at the same time has committed to increasing tests for the coronavirus to 30,000 per day. That's in the next 2 weeks. On Sunday, the health ministry tested close to 6,000 people, expected to reach 10,000 people per day sometime this week. On Monday, the Defense and Health Ministries, the Home Front Command, and 2 Rami Levy grocery stores and 1 Victory supermarket, that's today, will pilot a new program in which shoppers will be tested for the virus upon entering the stores. If the pilot is successful, this could become the new normal. So you could go and venture out, and again, it is scary, honestly, to go to the supermarket. I mean, it is definitely nerve-wracking to go out there. But here you have a situation where people could be tested for the virus just by going out to look for some eggs. I'm not saying you're going to get eggs because of the shortage right now, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But just going out to get eggs, you could be actually, I don't know if it's somebody who has certain symptoms. I don't know if it's just every shopper. I don't know how they're working it out. But along with your gallon of milk and crate or cart of eggs, you will be tested perhaps in the near future for coronavirus. In addition, 2 new coronavirus hotels are opening in Jerusalem. That is to quarantine those who have the virus. They've already started that model with 1 hotel in Tel Aviv, 1 in Jerusalem, and I think perhaps in a few other places they have these hotels. But that is a way to isolate people out of their homes and perhaps who do not need to be in the hospital, but just need to ride out a corona. And I think this is a very good strategy, especially now, unfortunately, that the hospitals are empty. The hotels, not hospitals. Unfortunately, the hospitals are not empty, but the hotels are empty. So why not use the buildings in order to provide people with some sort of comfort rather than being in a hospital? That's what I meant to say. We're talking about not only those who are sick, but those who require isolation and have nowhere else to stay. So they will be sent to local hotels, which are now coronavirus hotels. Would anybody have imagined this reality 3 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago? But that is the reality right now. On the political front, if you haven't heard since last week, Benny Gantz from the Blue and White Party, to make a long story short, essentially broke up from his party and is joining with the Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Likud in forming a national coalition emergency unity government. Apparently now it's going to take some time, though. They have to work out all the details in terms of which minister gets what portfolio and all those details, but it looks like we are on the way towards forming a government in Israel, which is a positive thing in terms of being able to release certain budgets, especially now in the shadow of Corona. But it looks like we are on the way to forming a government. I mean, other than Corona, this has probably been the second top story here in Israel, of the Prime Minister once again saving his political career for now. He will continue to be Prime Minister for, I believe, another year and a half, and then will rotate with Benny Gantz, who then will become the Prime Minister. But most importantly, right now, getting a government together, essential in order to, in a unified manner, combat the threats we are facing from the coronavirus. At the same time, another threat continues to be Iran, reported here in the J-Post. Israel's war between wars campaign against Iran is continuing despite the spread of the coronavirus. Defense Minister Naftali Bennett said yesterday, he said, quote, "The Iranian leadership insisted for many years to invest its monetary and human resources in exporting terror instead of on its own people, and today the Iranian people are paying the price. Iran should start taking care of its own people," he said. Israel Air Force Commander Major General Amikam Norkin said the IAF, that's the Israel Air Force, will continue its routine and maintain operational readiness despite the outbreak of the virus. And that's another point I don't know if people realize, in Israel, probably more people realize, but people who are listening to the show from other places around the world, it is, I wouldn't say business as usual. I mean, the IDF is taking the extra precautions and the social distancing and all that, but our army is still functioning. I know several recruits, young adults who are starting their army service this week, and they're going into a reality where you have, on one hand, you have the corona. On the other hand, you are being sent to basic training, and you are being sent to carry out your responsibilities as a citizen of the state of Israel by enlisting in the army. So the army is still up and running. We still have these threats, as I just mentioned, in terms of Iran and all the other stuff going on. You still have Arabs. On Friday night, there was a rocket fired into Israel by Hamas or one of the other terror gangs in Gaza. You still have daily rock attacks. So, unfortunately, our neighbors, some of them have decided that despite taking the risks of going outside, they're still willing to take that chance because they hate Israel so much, and they're willing to throw rocks at Israeli vehicles. They're willing to fire rockets. And I highly doubt that those who are firing rockets from Gaza, the rocket crews, are maintaining a acceptable social distance. Not that I care about the health of those who are firing rockets into Israel, but the point is they're not holding by the rules. They continue to fire rockets, and I read one of the health ministry / defense ministry home front command guidelines about. Imagine this, okay? Think about how crazy this scenario is. You're under, let's say, quarantine. I'm talking about you're in one room, and let's say that is the bomb shelter where you're located. What are other people in your house supposed to do when a rocket is fired by terrorists in Gaza? Did anyone ever think we'd get to that reality? But that's the situation. If you're in quarantine, you're wearing a mask, you have gloves on, you're trying to maintain your distance, or you're actually in like a room, and that room is the protected room, then everyone else in your house has to break the rules, put on their masks within 15 seconds, and come into the safe room because of the rockets. How crazy is that reality, okay? But that, in fact, is what happened on Friday night, and therefore the various ministries published those guidelines. What happens when a rocket is fired and there's corona? So, again, another one of the challenges we are facing here. Here are some updates here from Times of Israel. They put these out this morning in their running headlines front page section on their website. The Mossad intelligence agency, again, Times of Israel reports, has acquired 27 ventilators, which arrived in Israel overnight. This according to Channel 12. In addition, another 180 ventilators will be brought to Israel on Wednesday, the report says. The Mossad has been tasked with securing medical equipment from abroad, from unspecified countries. It also obtained 25,000 N95 respiratory masks and 10 million surgical masks. So the Mossad not only fighting terror around the world and infiltrating into the various countries, but also helping in the fight against corona. Police said, the next story here, police said to break up prayer gathering in Jerusalem's Mea Shearim. There was an illegal gathering for prayer in the ultra-Orthodox Mea Shearim neighborhood this morning, according to the Kikar Shabbat website, again, published by Times of Israel. Police are standing at the entrance to the synagogue to prevent people from entering. Ladies and gentlemen, stop praying in public. Do not enter a synagogue. Just stay at home. Pray at home. Okay, I'm not a prophet, and I would never tell you I know why this corona is happening or whatnot. But to me, it is obvious that God wants you to pray at home. Okay? That seems to be obvious. Don't pray in a group wherever you are. Just don't do it. Okay? If you have to leave the house, it's for food and medicine only. Stay at home. Talking about food, we mentioned the eggs. And the situation with eggs here, there is a shortage. I know personally, yesterday I tried 3 different supermarkets looking for eggs, cannot find eggs, and it's a problem, especially leading up to Passover, because what do you eat during Passover? You eat some matzah, if you're willing. You eat potatoes and eggs. Those are like the 3 staples of Passover, and now there's an egg shortage in Israel. But that being said, the agricultural Ministry of Agriculture pledges to combat the egg shortages in supermarkets before the upcoming holiday of Passover. Again, reported by Times of Israel. It released a statement saying the shipments of eggs had been delayed and were poised to arrive after the holiday began on April 8th, mostly as a result of shipping restrictions to Israel and delays in leaving the port. Therefore, the ministry, along with the finance ministry, has decided to take the unusual step of changing their routes of the ships that are meant to arrive in Israel, such that they arrive faster with more eggs to reduce the shortage. So for those concerned, and I myself was definitely concerned, but a little bit less so now, knowing that the boats are on their way with eggs. And it sounds like a silly thing. I mean, thank God we have plenty of food. There are plenty of options, plenty of choices. But Passover is synonymous with potatoes, matzah, and eggs. You got to have eggs on Passover for the Seder, and then for baking and for omelets and for everything else that goes along with it. But you know what? Somebody here just the other day went back to the founding of the State of Israel in 1948, and I believe it was that first Passover where things were rationed, and it was 4 eggs per person per family for all of Passover. That's it. You got 4 eggs per person. So you know what? Putting it into perspective, we'll be okay. We'll be okay with whatever eggs that we have, knowing that just 72 years ago, we're talking about 4 eggs per family. So we'll be okay. We'll make do. Here's some unfortunate news here. The Yeshiva World News informs its readers of the passing of Yosef Naiman, I believe, Zichronei Livracha. He was one of those wounded in the Muncie anti-Semitic stabbing attack over Hanukkah. He apparently was doing better, and again, I don't know if this is corona-related, but his condition worsened over the last several days, and he has passed away. He passed away on Sunday afternoon, so Baruch Dayan Hamet. Again, that was that horrible machete attack at a house/synagogue in the community of Muncie, New York, over Hanukkah. May he rest in peace. Yosef Naiman, Zichrono Livracha. Very sad news. We're going to finish the show on a positive, and this is, probably the most talked about positive topic that I go to, and that is the rainfall in Israel and the situation with the Lake of Galilee, the Kinneret. As the Jewish press reports, it says here, rejoice, fellow Sea of Galilee watchers of all faiths. That's how the article starts. The planet's lowest freshwater lake, which is 208 meters or 685 feet below sea level, on Shabbat continued to rise to its appointed full point, adding 2.4 centimeters, 0.94 inches, and is currently being measured as 209.20 meters below sea level. So a full Kinneret, what we're talking about here is we are missing just 40 centimeters or 15.7 inches to you and me. So that's all we need, 40 centimeters for a full Kinneret. I think perhaps that's unprecedented. If not, then it is close to being unprecedented, and especially because of the droughts which we have encountered over the last several years here in Israel. The Kinneret is on the rise, even with the corona, even with this plague affecting the entire world and affecting us here in Israel. There's still some positive news, and God surely blessed us with rain over this past winter season. It's been extremely wet. It might even rain later on in the week. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But today is just a beautiful, sunny day here in Gush Etzion, where I am looking out the window not able to go too far outside, but the birds are chirping, the sun is out, the grass is green, and we are heading towards Passover, ladies and gentlemen. Spring is here. Spring is in the air. So, after all that, I just want to wish everyone out there much safety, be healthy, be well, and please God, as we continue to go down this unprecedented path, unfortunately fearing the unknown, hopefully, please God, by the time we speak again next week, the coronavirus will be a thing of the past. Who knows? It's all in His hands, ladies and gentlemen. It's not in our hands. We just have to do what we can in order to get through this very difficult period, both from whether it's a mental perspective or physically or spiritually. We have to make sure that we're all okay. I want to send a shout out to Ben Bresky for all the work he does behind the scenes here at Land of Israel Network, along with Tabitha Epstein and all the other hosts, everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours. My name is Josh Hasten. This has been another edition of Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Everyone out there, stay in touch and be safe. Shalom, shalom from Gush Etzion, Israel.
This week on Rejuvenation with Eve Harrow, an exclusive interview with Mayor of Efrat, Oded Ravivi, on how community is pulling together in times of crisis.
Whatever will work will be the cure, will be the major aid to assist us with this challenging time. Come with new ideas and hope that one of them will be the breaking solution. We need to strengthen for the day after, and please God will come out of it stronger and healthier.
For the full interview, click on Rejuvenation with Eve Harrow on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.